This is Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. An informal chats with top business moguls as they share their stories of failure and success in a fun and relaxed way. Get entertained, educated, and unlock the secrets to success.
Welcome to Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman. I am back with Alex from Ukraine for part 2 of our conversation. Alex, when we left off, you were telling us about your sister's journey to get out of the area that was directly impacted by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And you mentioned that she had just missed a bomb landing where she was just 2 minutes before. She made it out and she's safe, right? Did she completely leave the country like you've done since then, or where is she?
Currently she is. They stayed for a while in Ukraine. Then her husband, he went to Ukrainian military stuff.
He did?
Yes.
Okay.
And she grabbed her kids and moved to Finland.
Okay.
Right, the place we used to stay for a while.
So for the guests that just tuned into part 2, you're an AI entrepreneur. You're building a business, which is really exciting. And we had a great conversation around your thoughts and efforts to utilize the future of AI in your business. And there's some great opportunities that I know we've been talking about for usage of AI. And so I'm excited to learn more about what you're looking to do with your business. Here in the U.S., you brought your wife and your 2 kids. Yep. And so that's really exciting. They're very young. They've adjusted well. You mentioned to me that they've become Americans now in just a couple of years.
They are really becoming, right, yeah.
That's amazing. So take me back to that moment again. You mentioned that the bombing happened about 4 a.m. in your home country back in February 24th of 2022. And then a few months later, you decided that you needed to leave for the safety of your family. You didn't know how long it would be from an invasion standpoint. And you decided, instead of taking the train, because you mentioned the trains were full of people trying to exit the area, you decided to drive. Yep. And the roads were jammed with people.
The roads, no. Only railway stations.
Only the railroad stations. Yep. Okay. So the roads were open, which is what led to you making that drive?
Just to make it clear, we are talking about people who tried to escape from Ukrainian territory. They're still being under the control of Ukraine, and also people who appeared to be on an occupied territory. So they had different ways of escaping.
Okay.
Part of them tried to escape to Poland because this is a country we have a common border.
Right.
In other part, as I am, we escaped through Russian territory.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the case.
And did that seem like a more dangerous route, trying to escape through Russian territory?
We, by the end of the first day of our trip, we stopped in one of Russian district's cafe, tried to order some food, and a waiter came to us. She received an order, and then she said, "Oh, is that your car?" We said, "Yeah, it is."
Right.
Now let's leave this place.
Oh, wow.
It was only, as I said, 2 months after the invasion started. And they were like, no. Ukrainians, no. Don't have anything.
Interesting. And you mentioned earlier that you have a Ukrainian license plate at the time.
Yes.
Which it sounds like was a benefit, but in this case of the restaurant, it was not a benefit because they noticed that you're Ukrainian, so they kicked you out. Wow. Now, how did you convince your wife that you needed to leave? How was that conversation with her when you decided that you needed to have this as an option?
I remember that moment. Absolutely, 100% remember how it happened. We were hypnotized. We were connecting to Telegram channels and TV, YouTube. We received so many information. Russian troops, they were moving forward. And there is one famous town, it's called Mariupol. Probably you've heard about it, Mariupol.
Right.
It has a really dark story once Russian came there. But there was a young girl. She was, I believe, 6, and she the rocket got to the place she was with her parents.
Oh, wow.
Young parents. They were like 25, I believe,
Right.
most of them. And we saw this short story in all the channels where doctors, they are carrying first dad. He brought his daughter to the local hospital. Then doctors are carrying her, and the voice in a camera, it says like, we are going to fight for her life, but both of her hands we won't be able to save.
Wow.
She was 6.
Wow.
That moment, my daughter was 6, and we just sat in front of each other, and it was absolutely clear, if even everything is fine with us, but something happened to our kids,
right,
we won't ever forgive.
So that video,
it was
pushed you to make that decision.
It was like the last. We were sure we're gonna leave, but we were not in such a hurry, you know.
Right.
But once we saw that, like, it took us like a couple of days to make the final decision.
Yeah, it seems to me like you made that decision really, really quick. Within 2 months, and that must be a tough decision to come to leave the only place that you know.
Yes, the only place. That's the case, because we've never been to anywhere else before. Like, we never been to Europe, and no US for sure.
Right.
So
tell me about that drive. And I know we'll get to this point, but that drive, I'm sure, must, one, be terrifying because you don't know what you're going to find along the route. You're going through several country borders.
Yep.
It's not like you're just traveling across state lines here in the U.S. from one state to the other. You're going across major borders with a lot of military, presumably, presence. But walk us through each border and what it was like crossing.
Well, interesting. Yep, I can do, because I do remember it. So.
Yes.
On the third day of our trip, we reached the Russian border. As I said, it's a common border with Latvia.
Right.
And these guys, I'm not sure how it's in English, but these troops who stayed on the border, they can figure out, oh, it's a Ukrainian car. So they tries to make it as tough as possible. It was like 25 Fahrenheit temperature outside. It was 2 a.m. and my kids, they were asleep, and we've been waiting like for almost 4 hours, but we were a single car in a line. Okay. And he made us wait for almost 4 hours, just waiting.
Just waiting. Your car,
just my
not
car.
a line of cars.
That was another bus after us, maybe in a couple of hours, but we were the first one in a line.
Wow.
And he made us wait for almost 4 hours. So then he said, okay, please. I left the car. He said, grab everything out of it, meaning everything. I said, like, can you just double check with some kind of radar, you know? He said, everything should be brought out, and your kids, you should also carry them out. Again, 25 outside. He said, bring everyone. Wow. They are sleeping. No, I don't care. It took me like 40 minutes to grab everything out. Then, you know, they gave me like a couple, well, I'm not sure. Like, they checked everything and said, hurry up. There is a bus. You need to be in a hurry. And it was also a process of like...
So you're pulling all of your luggage, the kids, and everything out of the car.
They even grabbed out like a X wheel, meaning like additional
spear.
Wheel. Yes, spear. They said, take it out of there.
Wow.
So they grabbed everything. They checked all this stuff. They said, okay, you can leave. So, and we approached to Latvian border.
Right.
And a young lady came, took a look and said, oh dear, she said, oh dear, give me your documents. I said, we all do have ones, but my youngest one, he has only a birth certificate. She said, okay. And they gave us like a temporary document that we legally crossed the border. It was the first one. And another one, once we reach out Estonian border, they said like, oh, Ukrainian car, okay, give me 1 second. And I said, oh gosh, we're gonna do all this stuff again.
Right.
But she left the she
Right.
came to us and said like, please take it. And she gave us 2 small toys for our kids.
Okay.
She didn't check anything. She didn't make us leave the car. She did nothing apart from place.
That was your second border. How long of a drive are you into it at this point?
We stayed in Latvia for a couple of days just to take rest, to have some coffee, and we, as we never been to Latvia, once we take a look at a map, there are like 2 directions. You move to the left, meaning to the west, or you move to north, because east it's Russia, south it's Ukraine. So you have only 2 directions, up or left side.
Sure.
And we were about to understand where to go. We called a lot of Ukrainians. They were in Europe, and we tried to get in touch.
So at this point, you're just driving for the most part. You don't have a specific destination that you're going to.
There was only one city we knew in Latvia once we crossed the border, and I said to my wife, okay, the only one city we know is Riga. Riga is the capital of Latvia. And I said, go to Riga.
Oh, wow.
That's it. No, nobody there. We know anyone.
Wow.
Like nobody was waiting for us. We were just driving. We reached to Riga, stayed there for 2 days, reached out our friends, and there was a friend of mine who called me and said, hey, come to Estonia. I said, why Estonia? Why not Germany, let's say?
Sure.
Because Germany, Portuguese, Great Britain, Ukrainians spread everywhere.
Okay.
He said, come to Estonia because I know how to rent a flat over here.
Okay.
I know how to rent it. And I said, okay, I'm on my way. So yeah, I went to Estonia first, stayed there like for a month. And then we started preparing all the documents for departure into US.
Now, at what point did you decide that the United States would be your destination?
Again, a friend of mine, another one, he just called me back and said, hey, were you able to escape? I said, yeah, we are in Estonia currently. He said, oh, okay, I am in US. So what's the deal? I said, how can I get there? And he explained me there is a program. It's used to call U4U, United for Ukraine.
Okay.
It's a one-time parole that U.S. government agreed to give to every Ukrainian who reached U.S., but there was only one condition. There should be an American family who can prepare this document for you.
Okay.
That's what happened, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. He said, I know these guys, and they will help you also. That's how we got
So where did you go next then? You decided to go to the U.S. You've gone through 2 different countries at this point.
It was 3, actually. 4.
Right.
4.
Total 4, right.
Total
but you
4.
kept driving from that point after staying there for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So what was next? What was your next checkpoint? What checkpoint was it that you mentioned to me when we first met that you had a Russian military guard there that you weren't certain if he would let you through? I think that was on one of your...
He after he checked the car, Russian.
Okay, so it was that first one, one of the first ones.
Yes.
Okay.
And he said like, okay, so you're going to war. He told me like, you're going to war.
Right.
I said, take a look inside of my car. I have 2 kids. I have a wife. Right now, right there. He is only 9 months old. I gonna move to Europe. That's what I told him. Okay. That's.
And he let you through.
Yeah, but there was another friend of mine who was beaten on the border only because when he did have the same conversation with a guard, there was a message to his phone where it said, hey, have you already passed this?
Right.
And he said like, oh, we occupied, said Russian border to this guy.
Right.
So you're saying we are not savers, we are occupied.
Okay.
Come here, he said.
And then
I know a lot of stories.
Really? And then they beat him up?
So beating, it's probably the smallest problem we currently have on occupied territories. People just disappear. They're saying these people disappear, I'm able to share with you stories that YouTube won't let us pass to the fear. So it's
right. That's tough.
It's still,
yes.
If the war ended, we could start the process of forgiving, but it still hurts.
So, Alex, one thing that you mentioned, you reached your final place. Mm-hmm. You decided that you're going to the U.S. And it was interesting. I asked you this question off mic about your car. So you have this beautiful car that you love.
It's Ford Taurus, American cars that I really admired.
You had a Ford Taurus that you loved. You said it wasn't one of the really small European cars.
Yes.
But you reached your final destination, and the question became, what do you do with your car and any other possessions that you can't take? What'd you do?
It's not a really hard thing once you have a friend in Ukraine. So what we did, we got in touch with Notorious.
So real quick, what was your last destination then? So you've gone to Poland.
So, we reached Finland.
Okay.
And stayed there for almost 5 months while we were waiting for a US document.
Gotcha.
And we just stayed there. We were always on a touch with our family.
Okay.
Finally, we were able to grab my dad also from Ukraine to Finland. And we were traveling over Finland.
Okay. Now, did you have your computer? You were able to complete the documents online, or did you have to go to a specific place?
Ukrainian ID, it's also digital, meaning that we have a government app that let us use all the documents outside Ukraine also. But yes, we did have the documents with us, but also this app, it's called DIA.
Right.
In English, it sounds like action, probably action. Yeah.
But the forms for the United States to get here, those were online and you were able to complete them without an issue on your computer while traveling?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and this is really interesting. I use my mobile hotspot all the time. Uh-huh. Is that what you're doing on your journey? Are you stopping by cafes or to get Wi-Fi access? How are you accessing your internet?
It's like we just bought SIM cards.
Okay.
Like Latvian, then Estonian, then Finnish SIM card, and finally got here. And we figured out that there are like no SIM cards. Like I'm not sure how it's called.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Okay. Very interesting. And so you finish in Poland.
Yes.
And now you have the documents, U.S. documents completed.
Yeah.
And you've got a date prepared for your flight to the U.S.?
Yeah. They once the documents are ready, meaning it's one-time payroll for the whole family, they give you like 3 months for arriving to US.
Okay.
Before it expired. So we did have the final date was like, I believe, January 2023. And so we got US on 19th of December 2020.
Okay.
That's when we got here.
What a journey. But the great thing is that you made it to the United States. You were safe. You never had them pull you out of the car looking for a tattoo. Right?
No, not in my case. Yeah.
Okay. So you were able to make it, and I think you were one of the lucky ones to not have to go through that experience. And the kids are healthy. They're now in the U.S. You've been here for a couple of years. Yes. They've adjusted. Your wife enjoys it here?
Yeah, she does.
Wonderful. And you're succeeding. You've been in business. You found a job. I think when we originally met, we met because there was a friend of mine on the Rotary Club, and he wanted me to speak to you about job opportunities. So you landed, you were looking for the next opportunity from a business perspective. And so we had a wonderful conversation, and then you found a great job. And now just a few years into it, you're starting your own business and you're building your expertise in AI. And I'm excited for you to see where you go with this experience. So AI-wise, business-wise, you're doing something that I'm trying to help people understand and figure out, how do you have the nerve to create a business, right? How do you find the resources, meaning the support and people that can give you advice so you can build a business? Now that you're in the process of creating this business, what advice would you give other entrepreneurs like you, people coming from, let's say, Ukraine, looking to land here in the U.S.? How do you help them become comfortable with starting a business?
I believe that any great project or a product can be done only by having fun.
Right.
So advice could be try to have fun while you do what you're doing. Try to enjoy this process, because result, it's really great one, but a process, it's something that you have to be admired of. And people who are already in US, especially from Ukraine, I know how do we Ukrainians look at US through what type of perspective. And it's a land of opportunities, that's for sure.
Right.
But it's also the land of hard working.
Right.
And once you're here, meaning once you're here,
right,
just try to do your best, and the result will be, that's for sure.
Right. I've had so many business leaders discuss the concept of fear, that a lot of time people are just afraid to take that gamble and start a business. What do you say about it? I mean, you're someone who survived the potential of being bombed in your home country, going through these border checks, not knowing what the outcome would be. What does fear look like for you when it comes to the business side, given that you've been through something that is a lot more concerning from a fear perspective, right?
Well, I saw the death, as you mentioned.
Yes.
It helps, but just to be clear, being here, still afraid.
Right.
But I'm afraid of cameras. I'm afraid of microphone.
Right.
I'm afraid of being here, but it's not the reason not to do. Meaning that the place where it hurts or you're afraid of, probably the we is less.
Yes.
So just go where it's scared, and I believe there is a success.
So how's your father and family, his sister? They're doing well?
Thanks. They're doing well.
Okay.
Thanks.
It's good to hear it. That is a tough circumstance. You know, and what's intriguing to me that you mentioned this earlier is that when the bombing first happened, you almost paralyzed. I remember sitting for 9/11 here in the United States. I remember sitting in front of that television for 2 days, trying to figure out what was taking place. I was watching the news and just absorbing it, and the impact of nearly 3,000 people on 9/11 is just hard to put in perspective. And I suspect that's where you were during that period of time. And once you figured that out, you decided to take action. Like, right, this is what I need to do, right?
Yep. And one more interesting note about it is you start really appreciate the big cars and less stuff as it is.
Right.
Meaning that we don't need so much clothes.
Correct.
We don't need so much shoes. We don't need all this. And the first place we rent the apartment, maybe in a couple of days after, we went to a local marketplace,
Right.
just to buy something to purchase, and people were trading like frames for us. And my first thought was, once Russian come here to Estonia, or will I be able to grab this photo frame, and leave this country? And I said, no, I don't need this stuff.
That is interesting. So
Yes.
when you lived there briefly in your journey, you had to figure out what you can take quickly.
Yep.
Or leave behind,
Yep.
and because it just didn't have any sentimental value. So you grab the kids, you grab what you need, and you
Yes.
leave as quickly as you can.
Yes.
But that's a really fascinating perspective in determining whether you need a frame because you just aren't going to have the space to take it with you even.
No. And one more thing to think about is my kids are growing,
Yes.
and they, especially my elder one, she starting asking questions,
Right.
and it's not easy question.
Right.
And some sort of them I am able to answer, some of them I'm not able to answer yet.
Right.
And it's one specific terms, having a conversation with a girl, but I also have a young boy. He's 3, but in a couple of years he will start asking the same questions. And I pray God I'm ready to answer them, because it's gonna be a tough conversation between dad and the son.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what did you do? Why did you do this? Why did you make this decision?
Right.
Because 2022 was a year of making a lot of decisions,
Right.
and really saying I'm not proud of all of them.
Right.
I could do something better, but it is as it is. And I'm just trying to live this life, be honest with myself, with my family, especially seeing what is happening like everywhere, even here in
Right.
US.
Right.
It's a blessed, promised land with so many changes inside of it.
Right.
So God bless America for sure.
Right.
You need this blessing, guys.
Right.
God bless you.
So what's next business-wise? Now, thanks for sharing that, by the way, and thanks for coming in on relatively short notice. We had a couple of exchanges, and as I mentioned, I wanted to check on you on February the 24th for the 3-year anniversary of the invasion, and then with the Zelensky interaction at the White House, I wanted to make sure that you were well and that Ukraine is as well, and
Yes.
the people are.
Thanks for that.
Yes, and so I think the conflict touches a lot of people that just want to see peace and people survive, and as you mentioned, be happy. So I appreciate you having this conversation. Business.
Yep.
I'm excited for you. So AI is on the horizon, and what's your next big step? Is your next big step now a product release? You're still growing your client base. You have a few months to continue expanding is your focus at this point, right?
So AI is a field where you can implement any idea, literally any of them. And we are on a track trying to create a portfolio, and I hope we're gonna have it like in a couple of months.
Okay.
With the use cases. I admire Steve Jobs.
Yes.
This guy was like, so what he told when he was young and hungry, and there were no iPod yet.
Right.
So he took just a piece of paper and said, I'm going to make the computer look like this. And here, for that.
Nice.
This A4 piece of paper. And the lady asked him, like, why do you think people will buy it? He said, they don't know yet that they really want it, but I will show them and tell them they will want it.
Right.
I believe we are in the same circumstances in AI business.
Right.
Like, people still and it's okay. Myself, we still don't understand their full potential. There are risks for sure, but I believe risks are on the creators of LLM models. We are currently just trying to understand what type of animal is it. That is why we just use it, we just invent it, we try to implement it in our everyday deeds. And I hope that, as I mentioned, a couple of months, we're going to have this nice portfolio with current working use cases. And probably you will invite me one more time and we could discuss it also.
You made me think, you mentioned Steve Jobs and the idea of him being hungry, which is generally a prerequisite. It's required for anyone starting a business. You have to be hungry in order for that company to reach the next level. I saw an interview recently with Bill Gates, and those two, of course, grew up in the same era. And they figured out their motto and philosophy was that they wanted a computer on everyone's desk. Was the premise of Microsoft. And I think people thought that is really odd, the idea of having a computer on every desk. And then you think, as you mentioned Steve Jobs and having a phone nearly in everyone's pocket. But it takes that hunger, right? And that ability to see something that people don't yet see in order to inspire innovation.
I guess that most of us, we use apps in our mobile phones, apps.
Yes.
And the same app as I do currently have, I believe most of them you also have on your own iPhone.
Right.
But we are in an era where each and every person gonna have its own personal apps, meaning AI agents. And we're gonna have agents that have been created specially for myself, for yourself, and it's gonna be an army of agents. Then we're gonna have a agent manager that will manage agents that have been created for yourself. And again, it's just the beginning.
That's amazing. Alex from Ukraine, thank you for joining us. This has been for me, a wonderful special edition of Business Decoded, where we could talk business and we could talk about your journey to the United States, which is giving you this opportunity now to do something different, maybe different than you would have done had you stayed in Ukraine. So sometimes things work out for a reason that we don't completely understand. But I appreciate you joining us on Business Decoded.
Thanks. I appreciate for having me here. And again, thanks.
Thanks for joining us for part 2 of this special edition of Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman.
Thank you for listening to Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. Please be sure to subscribe and share and stay tuned for more incredible Business Decoded episodes.